All right. Let's get this out of the way first. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast are solely those of the speakers, guests, and host, and do not in any way represent the thoughts or views or opinions of any other employer, partnership, or sponsor. The material and information in this podcast is for general information purposes only. It should be used at the listener's discretion. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tailboard Talks podcast. My name is Chris from 4th Shift Firefighter. Here in the office again today. No Nathan this week. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode with Nathan. That was probably one of the most fun. I'll just say it's the most fun episode I've ever done. It was 8 minutes long, chaotic, all over the place, but that's what life is these days with these two. And so it was just a great time, and we're going to have him on again. I hope you liked it. I hope you have questions for Nathan. I hope you're ready for more stories because he has got them, in case you didn't tell. I want to open up this episode by just saying thanks, man. Thank you. If you've listened, if you've watched, if you've shared stuff, if you've commented, if you've answered my questions on Instagram, if you've donated coffee money, bought a sticker, bought a shirt, whatever. Thank you so much. This podcast has been just an absolute roller coaster, quite honestly. Week to week, I don't know what it's going to be, what it's going to turn into, what it's going to become. And I'm so happy it's here. I'm so happy I'm still doing it. I'm proud of so many conversations we've had on here. And so the struggles I have week to week, a lot of times, it's not an obligation. I feel like I have a duty to get an episode out every single week because of you guys. Because every time I go to Instagram and ask for feedback or input or ask a question, there's always responses. And it's always responses that I want to talk more about and I want to get into conversations about and talk to people about and have episodes about. My problem is, and I don't know if this sounds ominous at all. I mean, I don't mean for it to. My problem is time. My problem is time. Time management, available time, and also I want to do stuff with my time. And I get into these modes where I'll be consumed by the thought of an episode. And so I'll be super distracted. And then I'm not what I would consider the best parent. Or I'm not focused on my job at work because I'm thinking about an episode I have to put out 4 days from now. And it's just so tight. Just the schedule at home is tight. My brain is tight already. I have so much stuff going on in there ideas-wise. And they're all getting bottlenecked out by time. There's a pinch point of time for all my ideas to get out. So I want to do something a little bit different for a little bit. And I'm not sure if it's the rest of the year, the rest of the month. We'll see. But I need to give myself more time. I think my biggest thing I want to do and my biggest struggle with these weekly episodes is that it's not that I run out of stuff to say, but I find myself just living and just doing stuff and not picking out things to talk about because it's just exhausting. Constantly looking for speaking points and content and things. And then what I don't want to happen, which I can see has already started to happen in some cases or some ideas I've had, is I either start sensationalizing things that aren't big deals, but I want to blow this situation up into this big life lesson so I feel like it's valuable enough to share on the podcast, or I rehash something I've already done which has value because I believed in it enough the first time. I still believe in the topics that we cover on here. But then I'm just regurgitating stuff and I'm just going through the motions and I'm not really in it. I'm just doing it to get something out and be consistent. So here's my idea. What I want to do, starting next week, obviously, probably, is new episodes are going to come out every other week. And repeat episodes, so there's 186 episodes now. There's got to be a handful in there that I want people to hear again. Because after the first 2 weeks, the listenership really drops off of those episodes. Once it's a week or two old, it's not like on the front page anymore. It's not like being seen on Instagram anymore. It nosedives the amount of downloads and views these things get. So there's ones in the past I want to bring back, and I just don't want to regurgitate them or rehash the same stuff again. I think if I was talking to Kurt about stuff, I was talking about my guests about stuff, we did a great job the first time. I've been proud of every single episode I put out. So there will be an episode every week. New ones are going to be every other week. And I might still get on and do the intro to the repost episode and just give a little current events update. Some of them might not have the Rescue One CBD affiliate partnership on there. So I'm going to add that in because that's been one of my best
relationships that I've built through this thing. I mean, aside from the people that I talked to, right? Aside from, we just saw 2 fourth shifters meet up in San Diego last week. One from Illinois who was on a conference down there, one guy that works in San Diego, and they met up. And they met through, to the best of my knowledge, through the podcast and through the fourth shift platform. At least I'm just going to tell myself. I'm going to tell myself a little more important than I think I am. But that's the thing, is like, I'm going to keep these relationships going. I want to keep giving you guys great information as best I can. Keep having the awesome conversations for the current and new generation of firefighter coming through. And I want to stay a part of the landscape of the fire service. But I need to give myself more time. And I'm thinking that by giving myself more time, I'll be able to develop these ideas better. Just yesterday, I put a question bubble up about something. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was 2 days ago now. And we got this whole topic conversation about the fire service turning into a hobby now. And how no longer is it the fire service of you're here for 30 years and you're going to get your pension and the gold watch and all that stuff at the end of the yellow brick road there. At the end of the line, you're not working towards that. You're really just here because it's a cool thing to do, pays pretty well, and if you give a couple years and try it out and don't like it, you bail, which is a complete paradigm shift from a lot of the fire service we know. But to get all that I want to think about and develop that in 3 or 4 days and even delay it till next week, I want to give you guys more than that. I want to give you guys better, stronger content than that. So I'm going to do this. Like I said, new episodes every other week. Reposts or reissuing episodes or guest takeover episodes or something like that on the off weeks, on the weeks in between, okay? It's not going anywhere. I like you guys too much to leave you hanging. Even if you don't like me, even if you've checked out the podcast, it's not for you, maybe one of these topics will strike your fancy and you'll dig it. But I don't want to go away. I want to keep this thing going. We just got to figure out a way to make it work for us, right? Now, I do have a topic for today because I presented the firefighter wellness ladder to our new recruits again a couple days ago. And we had a couple talking points in there that I don't know if I've talked about on here before, but they're worth repeating because we're still in September. It's still National Suicide Prevention Month. And these are things that fall under the mental health and behavioral health side of the wellness ladder. Now, if you remember, and by the way, the PDF is done for these things. I just got to put on the website and you'll be able to download a strength building template, the firefighter wellness ladder, and also the 14-ish, and also the daily dose. I got 4 PDFs coming at you guys. That'll be free downloads on the website, fourthshiftfirefighter.com. But the wellness ladder, if you remember, the 4 parts of that ladder are sleep, nutrition, mental and behavioral health, and fitness. Sleep is on the bottom rung, nutrition is the next rung up, and then you have fitness and then the mental health on each beam of the ladder. And the goal is to maintain 3 points of contact on the ladder, right? So you can carry stuff, keep moving, be stable, all that jazz, all the stuff you know already, okay? These things fell under the mental health side of the ladder, the mental health beam of the ladder. And I want to go over 2 of them real quick because I think we've seen them before. I've seen them, I've done them, and they're 2 good conversations to have. So the first one is firefighters, paramedics, first responders, and all those people, all of us that do stuff, okay, have a tendency to want to regain control. And this is going to sound like it's out of nowhere, but these are just 2 parts of the mental health side that kind of we had longer discussions on, and we're more prominent in this talk with the new hires. We tend to look for control. We think we're in control, right? Because we say, well, we're the heroes. We're going to show up and we're going to control the scene. We're going to tell these people where to go, what's going to happen next. We're going to control their destiny and solve their problems and all this stuff. In reality, we have very little control, almost none, okay? We don't choose when we go on calls, where, what we're going to run into, how we have to deal with it sometimes. There's ways that we would all love to deal with certain calls that we just cannot do. We have a vast void of control in general, right? You can't even decide when you're going to eat your meals. You can decide when you want to try to eat your meals, but actually having your meals is a different story altogether, right? And so on our off days, and this is the lessons I'm trying to tell our new members now coming on, things to look out for down the road. On our off days, we try to regain control. And the easiest way to regain control is through typically destructive measures. Eating too much, drinking too much, smoking, something like that, gambling, wasting all day on your phone, not being productive. And you don't have, this isn't like the grind. We're not talking about you got to grind every day to make your life worthwhile. Nothing like that. I'm talking about behaviors that get in the way of your life or get in the way of you doing the best you can or even being healthy, okay? And we see a lot of that through drinking, right? Now I get to decide how much I'm going to drink. And I don't feel good when I drink, but I'm doing it to myself. I'm taking control back. The harm that I'm doing to myself is now because of me, not because of getting up 3 times overnight to go pick up someone or go deal with drunks, right? The harm I'm doing to myself with eating too much and just indulging, I get to control that. I didn't get to control my meals yesterday and it made me angry. I'm going to control that. I'm going to eat everything today. And it's not going to work towards my goals, but I get to do that to myself instead of the public telling me what I can eat and when. We grasp these things to regain control. The lesson that comes out of that is just being aware that that happens. It's not that don't ever do it, because sometimes we're not going to have a choice to do it. It's not that you're a bad person if that happens to you. It's recognizing that, why am I doing this? I don't like drinking. Why am I drinking so much? Like making those connections in your head, having a little more awareness is the point of the talk, right? So it's not to judge, and it's not to lecture, it's not to try to have people avoid it. I mean, that'd be great, but it's also not realistic all the time. It's more just being aware. Being aware that if you start doing weird things in your life, things that you didn't used to do before, things that you may not even enjoy, but you feel compelled to do them because you're in control of the damage you're doing yourself, that's what's happening, okay? And there's a million other factors that play into it, but just be aware of that potential speed bump in your career, okay? Now, the second one is a little bit of a thing I've done with that Firefighter Wellness Ladder that's not different on the PDF, because the PDF that I'm putting on the website for free, you can download it, is just simple. Okay, it's clean, it's cut, it's dry, it's simple, it's what it is. When we get into a conversation about the mental health side of the Wellness Ladder, then we talk about the distinction between mental health and behavioral health. And they're two very closely related but different things, okay? And the way I explain it to the new candidates we have is that mental health is what's going on in your brain, in your head, in here that you see. And behavioral health is the stuff that everyone else sees. And behavioral health is often an indicator of your mental health. Often a late sign of poor mental health is your behavioral health. Now that can happen a few different ways, right? We can have like a short term or a long term or an acute or a chronic. And in the short, and they're the same thing but in different degrees, right? So if you think about having a bad day and you're not happy and you're ticked off in the short term, that might look like isolation, right? That might look like snapping at people. It might look like shutting down. It may look like disengaging, right? Or being overly aggressive. Well, the same thing happens in the chronic sense too, but it takes a little more digging to figure out what the problem is. It's easier for me to say to someone, why are you mad today? Well, I'm shipped out of my station. I'm in charge of the ambulance. Okay, clear, defined thing there. If he was back in a station not assigned to the ambulance today, he probably wouldn't be in such a bad mood, right? His behavioral health would be different because his mental health would be different. If we're looking at long-term isolation, severe lifestyle changes, right? Now we're getting into like the almost addiction terminology, and I'm by no means a counselor, but that's when we get to talk about like things that you do that get in the way of your everyday life, right? You're missing appointments, you're late to work, your life is falling apart because of these specific actions. And like I said, I only know the definitions of them. I'm not trained to help you with them necessarily or counsel you out of them. Then it takes a little more digging, right? Then in terms of like, what can we do to get below the surface? And it's all the stuff, if you've gone through promotional testing or you've been in office or anything like that, it's like digging. Okay, I know you're snapping at me today and you slammed the dishwasher. Is that because something else is going on, or you just hate this dishwasher, right? The behavioral health stuff we put out is going to be looked at in the acute sense is like no big deal, it's a bad day, or in the chronic sense is like this is stuff we got to pay attention to. What this falls back on with both these things, expressing your control in a destructive way, and also the difference in recognizing behavioral health and what that means for your mental health, how that reflects on your mental health. The main thing we drive home with this conversation with the new people is that your closest relationships are going to be the ones that bring this up to you. Okay? If I just sit there and I stew all day in my brain and my mental health is garbage, but I cover it up like a good first responder and I compartmentalize it and I don't let on, right? Katie's none the wiser. She can probably still tell. But until I start yelling at the kids or not doing things I like doing or snapping at her or drinking more or something like that. Those are the behavioral changes that she's going to notice. It's not their job to notice it, but they're going to notice. Hopefully you have relationships that are good enough where they feel comfortable saying, like, what's been going on with you? Why are you so angry? And Katie will do that too. She's like, do you just need a break? Have you had too much stimulation in your brain today that you need to go away for a little bit? And of course I'll say no, because I don't want to admit to it, right? So I'll just dig myself deeper and deeper in this whole frustration, whether it's the kids or whatever we're doing. But the lesson that comes out of all this is the importance of the relationships that you have around you and your support system, whether it be your crew, your friends, your spouse, your significant other, whatever. Try to surround yourself with people who are comfortable enough, honest enough, and trustworthy enough that when they come to you and say, there's something going on because I've noticed these things, that you don't just have to disregard them immediately or put up a front or let your ego get in the way and say, nah, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. I don't want to show weakness, so I'm going to say no. May have it be someone in your support system that when they say something, you're like, well, crap, probably, right? So just 2 points that we got into with the new hires, right? 2 points to be aware of for new firefighters, 2 points to be probably familiar with if you're a vet and you've been in the fire service for a while. You may have seen these things before. You may have encountered them. I know I can tell you I've done them both. And it's tough, man. Like I said, this is not a talk or a lecture or anything to have you 100% make sure this never happens or tell you that now you're aware of it, you can avoid it at all costs. It's more so just knowing that if you start to notice these things and you see your behavioral health change, maybe you can tie it back to an issue with your mental health and get the help you need and talk to the people that you trust. If you start to see that you're trying to regain control by doing all these destructive measures, maybe you can just be aware of it enough to say, what am I doing? What am I doing? I got to talk to somebody, or now I'm aware of it, now I can try to take steps to mitigate it a little bit, right? Be realistic with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be a little bit kind to yourself, okay? These aren't things that you'd normally be doing if you didn't have this job. A lot of the times, this job turns us into people and has us do things that we would not typically do otherwise if you're just working for the bank, okay? But it also gives us a lot of opportunity, a lot of experience, a lot of friendships, and a lot of good things, okay? We're going to have to take the good with the bad. That's just kind of the way it is sometimes, but we're getting so much better now at having ways to deal with the bad that the good actually stands a fighting chance, okay? I really do believe that. I really do believe we're getting to a point where the good things are not completely drowned out by the bad things of the fire service. It is going to have to start with us, though, the ones that are struggling the most, to make sure that that balance stays even, okay? Guys, thanks so much. Thanks so much for listening. I'm sorry if I got a little off topic on that. I had far more detailed and clear bullet points written down, as always, and I skipped around a bunch. I think the point got lost, but hopefully you picked something up in that. If you like what I'm saying, if you like the show, if you liked last week's episode with Nathan, you can clearly see why I put a Buy Me a Coffee button on the website and on the show notes. That guy is a monster, and I love him so much, but we need coffee. Go to the show page, go to the website, go to the show notes, all that stuff. There's a Buy Me a Coffee button. You can support the show. Send us a couple bucks. Rescue and CBD, 0.000 THC, safe for the job. All the benefits of CBD without the risk of failing a drug test. They even ship one in their package when they send you a bottle of CBD. You get a drug test just in case you want to check it out. You're going to pass. It's no big deal, but they do it for you anyways. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. See you in 2 weeks. Next week, I'm not sure what episode we're going to have as the repost episode. I'll put a little box up. If you have an episode that you liked, that you want to hear again, let me know. This is your community. This is your show. And I'm excited to see where this goes as I get to free up a little bit of brain space. Can't even say it. How am I going to do it? All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Be a 4-shifter.